Hi everyone, I'm Jessica.
And I'm Lisa.
And in today's video, we'll talk about the National Association of Realtors lawsuit and how the mainstream media is saying there won't be a need for a buyer's agent. There's a lot of information out there, and most are news articles that have been written that aren't factual, or they are panic headlines just to get you to click on their site and read their opinion. As we've mentioned before, visit facts.realtor for the truth about the lawsuit and subsequent settlements. Okay, so let's get into what buyer's agents do. Both of us are buyer's agents and both of us are listing agents. Most people think that a buyer's agent is just there to open the home and show you around. So what we want to do today is talk to you about what we as buyer's agents actually do, because we truly feel that there's a lot of value to hiring the right buyer's agent to represent you in the home buying process. Buyers have always had options in regard to having someone help them with a home purchase. You can have a buyer's agent help you, you can hire an attorney, you can do it by yourself, or you can have the listing agent help you. Maybe a lot of buyers out there think that they can handle the transaction by themselves. And if they actually can, more power to them. Maybe they've tapped into Zillow or Realtor.com or Redfin and looked at the sales comps that are available. They crunch the data, but more than likely won't be able to do it to the extent that a buyer's agent can, because buyer's agents are deeply entrenched in the real estate world every day. Yes, even on weekends and at nights, and sometimes even while on vacation. We have had buyers who thought they could handle it, they run into some issues, and then ask us to get them out of a bad situation. Usually at this point, there is nothing we can do, and the buyer is stuck with the home unless they want to lose their earnest money or breach the contract and face possible legal action by the seller. Once something like this happens, your only option might be to go to an attorney for legal advice. This can add extra expense. As real estate agents, we are licensed to give you legal advice only in a transaction that we are involved in and we have an agency relationship with the client. So if you've gotten into trouble without us, we are not licensed to be able to give you legal advice. The only person who can do that at this point is a licensed real estate attorney.
It's important that everyone understands what having a buyer's agent actually does for buyers. We're able to see many details that online websites don't show, like were there any concessions in a sale that may have affected the sales price? Meaning, did the seller throw a bunch of money at the buyer for repairs that sellers didn't want to make, bringing the price of that home down? Or maybe the seller reduced the price of the home because it needed a new roof at a cost of $10,000. Looking at these details, we can confirm if the actual sales price of the home is skewed, so we can run accurate comps that reflect the true price of the home and confirm a fair price for the home if the buyer wants to make an offer on it. Buyer's agents, and especially the ones who have been around a while, probably know or have worked with or have relationships with other agents. So when we see a home come on the market, and if a client is interested in that home, we're going to call that agent and ask some pretty direct questions, even some questions that listing agents don't want us to ask. Because honestly, sometimes a listing agent will just start talking blah, 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 and not even realizing what they're saying about the home or the seller, and that may give us as buyer's agents an advantage. We're going to ask if there have ever been any offers, what the offer price was, why the seller didn't take the offer, was it a cash offer or was it a loan, and all sorts of other questions. If the offer was accepted and the home fell out of escrow, why did it fall out? Were there some crazy repairs needed? Was the cost of the repairs prohibitive to the buyer and the seller? If it was a loan, did the home not appraise for the purchase price? There are so many questions we can ask to find out all the details.
Another research strategy we like to use is to go back and look at the history of the listing, even back several years. We can look at that history, find old seller disclosure documents that may point out some past problems, maybe even find insurance history reports, and find seller loan information. We may even be able to guesstimate how much a seller may still owe on the house, what they put down, and all kinds of other information that could benefit a buyer. We can research floodplain information and hard to find well water information from the Arizona Department of Water Resources website. Something else we look for when we look at the MLS listing is days on market compared to continuous days on market. When we see a difference between these two numbers, this may, but not always, indicate possible issues. Has the home been on the market with a couple of different agents? How many price reductions have there been? How many times has it fallen out of escrow? In regard to the square footage, how do the county records coincide with what the listing agent has indicated in the listing? Were there additions? Were they permitted or not? There is so much research involved even before we take the buyer to a house, because we want to know everything we possibly can about the home our buyers are interested in. We could seriously do another video or two on how much goes into our research process.
And please understand that not all buyer's agents go to this extent, but we do. We feel it's important to gain all the information humanly possible before a buyer makes an offer, because all of these facts could be the difference in offering full price, offering a little below full price, or a lot below full price, or even stopping a buyer from making an offer on a home. We make it a point to meet with buyers in person. We want you to interview us. We want you to pick our brains about the area, the homes here, the price points, the different subdivisions, the cost of HOAs, homeowners insurance, and so much more. We also want you to get to know us. Are we easy to talk to? Are we listening to what your needs are? Are we knowledgeable? Are we the right fit for you? We also prefer to sit down and review the purchase contract with you. Yes, even before we write the offer. So if there are any questions, we can answer right then. We'll send you home with a sample contract so you can review and understand exactly what you're getting into. The entire offer consists of about 30 pages, and we understand this is a lot of information to absorb, and that's why we always welcome you to reach out with any questions. If you need a loan to purchase a home, we can provide names of local lenders who we've worked with in the past. We have great relationships with them, and we trust them to handle your loan efficiently. They are in constant contact, updating us, you as the buyer, and the title company as to the progression of your loan, what's expected, documents they will need, important dates that coincide with the contract, and more.
We also have a sense of which listing agents are easier or harder to work with, and which ones we're going to have to call or email numerous times to get the information that they're required to provide to us as outlined in the contract document. The time frames for receiving certain documents are strict, and if one deadline is not adhered to, it could cause the buyer to be in breach. So now that we're on the subject of listing agents, another option for you as a buyer is to ask the listing agent to write the offer for you and present it to the seller that the listing agent represents. And if you're comfortable with that, then by all means do it. But just know that the listing agent represents the seller and owes fiduciary duty to the seller and not you as the buyer. Fiduciary duties are legal obligations that require the listing agent to act in the best interest of their seller, not you as the buyer. In real estate, a listing agent has a fiduciary duty to their client, which means that they must act in the best interest of their client, not their own interest and not the buyer's interest. What this means is that, say you have the listing agent write an offer for you. For one, they will want to be paid for helping you, so you'll have to sign an agreement with them to represent you and settle on a fee. So now that agent will make double the commission for not representing your best interest. In Arizona, you will be required to sign a consent to limited dual representation agreement, which identifies that agent represents the seller's best interest and not yours. So all of those research items that we covered earlier in the video that Lisa and I do as buyer's agents, that list agent is probably not going to do, because finding out that information for you is probably not in the best interest of their seller who they represent. That agent will not be able to provide advice on what price to offer for the property or tell you what the seller is willing to take for the home. So given that fact, you may overpay for the home, but you won't know because that agent can't legally tell you what a fair price may be. And this is just the beginning. You haven't even written the contract yet. And there is even more that goes into that, and we'll cover those items in a second buyer's agent video.
Think about this. You're talking to the list agent, maybe you start getting chummy and you spill the beans about something you don't want anybody to know. And later you think about it and you say to yourself, oh my gosh, I should not have said that. Well, that list agent owes fiduciary duty to the seller. So don't you think this agent would tell his seller what you intended to keep secret? Of course that agent is going to spill your beans because he owes duty to his sellers and not you. Here's something that may drive the point home. If you and your spouse were getting a divorce, would you hire the same divorce attorney? Think about that again. Would you hire your spouse's attorney to handle your divorce? If your spouse hired that attorney first, that attorney owes your spouse fiduciary duty. He does not owe you the same representation. Don't you want someone on your side? It's the same with having a buyer's agent represent you as the buyer. You have someone working for you and not the seller. Well, we could go on and on in this video about what we as buyer's agents do for our buyers, but the video would go on for another hour or so. So we're going to stop here, but stay tuned for more videos about what buyer's agents do, because what we covered here is just a drop in the bucket. If you're thinking about moving to the Prescott area or planning a trip to visit to see if it's right for you, we can help you get to know the place we call home. Are you ready to start your search for your Prescott area home? Go to PrescottRealEstateAndLiving.com. You can also find your Prescott area home's value there by clicking on Sell Your Home near the middle of our website homepage. Don't forget to like and subscribe to this channel and help others find this information. We post home tours, neighborhood tours, buyer and seller tips and tricks, real estate sales stats, the best things to do in Prescott, and more. Check the comments below for our contact information and to request buyer and seller guides or a relocation package. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you again soon.
Bye.
Bye.